Now back to Hampshire and two young men at an activity centre who have a battle on their hands to save a customer's life. He's a church minister and he's in a bad way. The family are praying for a miracle. Local reverend and dad of 5, Chris, has had a cardiac arrest while on a trip to a trampoline park with 3 of his young children. He stopped breathing. Managers Ryan and Tom have been doing CPR and are using a defibrillator to try and restart his heart.
Shock advised.
An emergency call taker is listening as it shocks him for a 3rd time.
Shock delivered. To touch the patient.
But still no pulse.
Okay, the shock was delivered. Carry on with the chest compressions, guys, okay?
As soon as I started to feel like I wasn't performing it the best I could, I asked Tom to come in, working as a team to make sure that we were giving the best CPR we could.
You just keep going. Please breathe. Come on, please breathe. Come on.
And knowing his kids were meters away from us, it was never an option to stop.
The entire drama is captured by the trampoline park's CCTV cameras. Tom can be seen fighting to save Chris. Waiting in the cafe, his 12-year-old daughter, Serenity, calls her mum, who asks to speak to staff.
I said, they're with Dad, I can't get anyone.
And I think that's when it sort of hit me that it took all the staff to be working on Dad, and it was something more than a plaster or a bandage, that something serious was going on.
I was quite worried. I was just trying not to cry or anything because my 2 brothers were there with me.
Too shaken to drive, Tracy calls her father and asks him to take her to her husband. On the way, she rallies support from their congregation.
I just thought, let's get people praying. I phoned the prayer network and I put it on Facebook as we were driving along.
At the trampoline park, the first paramedics arrive just as Chris starts to respond after a 5th shock.
The gentleman gasped, so the paramedic told us to stop, and he was breathing enough on his own that we didn't have to continue, and it was just, it was overwhelming, really.
And the first responders here.
Wonderful. They've arrived with you now?
Yeah, he's with us now.
Okay, I'm going to leave you with the crew. You've done brilliantly, guys. Well done.
Cheers, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Paramedic Matthew and a colleague are next on scene.
Chris wasn't out of the woods yet. His heart, although it was beating, his blood pressure was very low, so we did need to maintain that. And although he was breathing for himself, he wasn't breathing as quick as we would like, so we were providing assisted ventilation to him. It was vital to get to hospital quickly.
CCTV shows Matthew and his colleagues wheeling Chris out to the ambulance. It's a huge relief for all the staff.
To know that we put him in literally the best situation he could be in as he left Flip out, it was incredible.
But no one is sure if he will survive.
You know the stats of people coming back to full brain capacity for the length of time that he's been out for. Is he going to pull through the next stage?
Tracy, still on her way, phones the centre and is told her husband has had a cardiac arrest and is en route to Southampton General Hospital.
It was such a shock and so much out of the blue that I couldn't take it in.
She rushes straight there. When she arrives, Chris has been put into an induced coma to allow his oxygen-starved brain the best chance of recovery.
He had tubes and wires all over him. He looked like he wasn't there.
He's taken to intensive care. The next day, Tracy is told he may have brain damage.
To realise that he might be alive but never the same again was just shocking. The doctor had said, you know, whatever brain damage there is has already occurred, there's nothing we can do about it. So I knew that I had to go elsewhere. I knew that we had to pray, and that was the only thing that I could do.
She takes comfort in the knowledge that their own congregation are praying with her, along with fellow church members elsewhere.
I've never seen anything quite like it before. There were churches locally, nationally, internationally that were praying for Chris.
A day later, doctors begin to bring Chris out of his induced coma.
He started to sort of writhe and roll his eyes, and it looked really bad. It looked like he wasn't there mentally.
But a few hours later, Tracy feels her prayers have finally been answered.
Chris just called me over to him and he gave me a kiss and said, "I love you." And I thought, he's there, you know. That was an amazing moment.
Chris has no memory of the events of that day.
I began to, I guess, become quite tearful as I began to realise the severity of what had actually happened to me.
Surgeons implant a special device next to his rib cage, which acts as a mini defibrillator in case he suffers another attack. News of Chris's amazing recovery reaches Ryan and Tom at the trampoline centre.
He was completely fine. Nothing wrong with his heart, nothing wrong with his brain.
You don't know if you're doing CPR right. The big one was the known brain damage one for me, knowing that we actually did it right.
3 weeks after his cardiac arrest, Chris is allowed home.
He came out just before Christmas, which was amazing. I mean, he was our Christmas present.
Keys of the spirit. Dad's a lot better now. He's definitely keeping busy.
A couple of weeks after Christmas, Chris returns to the trampoline park to thank the team who saved him.
It was just so good to see him. He looked so different. Words can't describe what I felt. It was lovely.
I felt incredible knowing what we did.
Chris and his family will be forever grateful to Ryan and Tom.
I think what those two guys went through, you know, being in their early 20s must have been absolutely harrowing. I think they should have a medal, to be honest with you.
I just want to thank Tom and Ryan. I mean, they kept our family together.
I definitely think that I'd say thank you for saving my dad.
It was the guys' prompt action which brought me back to life, but I think had the prayers not been there, I think I would have lost my mind. I believe this whole thing, this whole event, is nothing short of miraculous.
Someone up there was watching him. Someone played a part there.